Hey, yo everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video review, and today we're going to be doing Action Comics 1000! This is a huge issue for our boy in blue. Not only has he been around for 80 years, but his comic, the comic he started all in, and Action Comics #1, has reached 1000. This was something that we didn't think we were going to get, especially with New 52 rebooting everything, or not really rebooting, but renumbering everything. And Action Comics got renumbered too, but with Rebirth, they decided to go back to its original numbering, and lo and behold, here we go, issue 1000. There was a ton of different covers out there to get. I decided to get the Journal comic cover with Jim Lee's art on there, because Jim Lee is my favorite artist, and not to say I don't want to get the other covers, but this is an $8 issue with a ton of pages. I'm not even sure how many pages it has in it, but it has about 11 stories, so a ton of pages. So I just don't have the money to drop on 7, 8 different variant covers, which is going to drop me $40. But with that said, let's talk about Action Comics 1000. I just want to talk about this comic this week, not the rest of my comic load. I will get back to my regular comic load videos eventually, once I finally get caught up, and I'm getting there. I have maybe like 20 comics to read and I'll be caught up. But I really want to talk about this and spend a lot of special time because, I mean, Superman's very important to us. Superman is a very important character. He is an inspirational character. What I like about Superman, and I'm gonna be doing a top hero video later, and Superman's going to be in there, so I'm not going to spend too much time talking about him here. But what I really like about Superman is he is the Boy Scout. But I like the fact he's a Boy Scout. I like the fact that he stands for truth, justice, and the American way. I like the fact he doesn't lie. I like the fact that when you go up to him, he is genuine. That is who he is. On face value, that's what he's showing. His morals are straight up with in front of him. And I find that to be an attractive thing as a character, because a lot of the characters out there are always dubious or dark or not always perfect, which is fine. I'm not saying Superman's perfect, but he tries the best he can be to be the best for everyone, to be a role model, to be the man of tomorrow. I mean, there's so many great stories out there that showcase this. So, I mean, it just makes Superman an incredibly important character to my life, because he is that good person, that final last bit of hope in all the dark situations, and most importantly, like he's the blueprint in which all other superheroes come from. So I'll go into that a little bit more when I talk about Superman in my top hero review. When I get to it, I'm still formulating it. But let's talk about Action Comics 1000. Most of these issues are their own standalone issues, with the exception of the last issue, which is Brian Michael Bendis and Jim Lee. It's supposed to be a jumping on point for his 6-issue Man of Steel story arc that's going to be coming out going into the summer, which I'm looking forward to. And a big revelation happens in this issue, what we learn about Krypton and its history, and more or less the history of Superman. That's in the last issue with Bendis. And I'm not going to go through every single issue. You got some great people on here. You have, and I'm going to just read them off real quickly. I'm just going to go through some of the names that popped in my mind. Dan Jurgens, Brian Meltzer, Paul Dini, Tom King, Jim Lee, Brian Michael Bendis, Jeff Johns, Marv Wolfman, John Romita Jr., Peter Tameshi, a lot of different names in here. Scott Snyder wrote, and a slew of artists. I know I listed just Jim Lee. He's my boy, but I mean, there's a ton of different artists, a ton of different writers in here. 11 stories, and I was listening to, I believe it was Smodcast, not Fat Man on Batman, with Smodcast. I listened to a lot of Kevin Smith. I listened to all his podcasts, and I was listening to Smodcast, and he had Brad Meltzer on there, and he was talking about it, and apparently DC asked him, it doesn't have to be in continuity, it can be its own thing. You got this many pages. You have 5 pages, you have 7 pages. Tell the Superman story that's important to you. And that's what everyone does here. And they tell individual stories, and you really can get the thumbprint of every single character when you read the stories. You know it's a Scott Snyder story. You know it's a Dan Jurgens story. You know it's a Jeff Johns story. You know it's a Tom King story when reading it, because you get their feel on it. But in particular, my favorite story is actually the first one, which is for the city that has everything. This is Dan Jurgens doing the art and doing the story itself, and this is the only one I'll really talk about in general. Is basically they're having a celebration for Superman, and while this celebration is going on, Superman, as Clark Kent, wants to go out and save the world, but he's not being allowed to by Lois. She's like, listen, you gotta stay here, and you got to, you gotta soak this up. These people are thanking you. Gratitude is important. And at the end of it, the final splash page is just, it's everything. Right? It's everything that's definition for Superman as a thank you. And I think it's only appropriate that Dan Jurgens' story was the one that I enjoyed the most, because he has crafted the character so well in these past 20 plus years. Right? Since, 1993 is when he jumped on with the death of Superman. And although he's jumped on and off here and there, he has been there through all of Superman, through the 90s, through the 2000s, through the New 52, through Rebirth. He's always had his hand on Superman. And I feel most comfortable with him with Superman because he understands the character so very well. And his story is beautiful. It was very touching at the end. But a lot of these stories are beautiful. I think this is a landmark issue to get because it's issue 1000, but I think it has so much heart in it as a love letter to Superman, and some great stories in here, and a nice tease for Bendis' run on Superman. I really do think this is a must-get for all comic book fans, right? Even if you're a hardcore Marvel fan, or hardcore Image fan, or IDW, or Dark Horse, or manga, or if you don't even read comics in general, get this, right? Because Superman is such an important comic book character in general, not just to the comic book industry, right? Not just to every character you see back here, but he's an important character to all genres. He is an American cultural icon, and one of which I'm proud to have in my life as such a inspiration in my life. I know it sounds silly, like comic book characters, but Superman has done so much for me, and that makes me love this book even more. So, Action Comics 1000, pick it up. Please pick it up. If you would like to follow me on Twitter or on Instagram, the links are down below. And if you want to support the channel, Patreon is also down below. I'm on Instagram and Twitter regularly, so it's a good way for us all to keep connected, right? And with that said, this is Andrew saying, peace out for now.